The big news coming from Caleb Williams himself. There have been leaks about this going back and forth, but there is more news. More news. A waterbending Avatar series. I specifically didn't read about this off stream because I wanted to go through the whole thing. Appreciate the shout out. Always. Always. Given access to a new casting call from Nickelodeon Animation, the secret casting call was for a new animated project expected to begin voice recording this month in this place. Project is currently being made under the working title A Red Thunder. It probably has nothing to do with the actual, it's just a project name. After speaking to a source, we can confirm this is a new series from Avatar, yada yada. It should also be noted that Mike DiMartino and Brian Konecko briefly revealed it to IGN and SDCC this past year that other shows were already in development at Avatar Studios. Very, very true. This is for Seven Havens. Secret casting call calls for 2 Native American leads, which could mean the series follows a waterbender, though it is unknown if they are a previous Avatar like Avatar Kuruk or just supporting characters. So this is like the biggest thing that I was immediately latching onto. I saw the picture and I was like, nah, he's gonna be Kuruk. He's gonna be Kuruk. Because there isn't a Kuruk novel, and by the looks of it, there's going to be another Roku novel, and a Kuruk novel doesn't really seem to be sketched in thus far. And if you think about Pavi's story, right? I even mentioned this in my video, because if you think about Pavi's story and the way the world is going to look like in Seven Havens, it's going to be super dominated by spirits. And in terms of a world that was primarily dominated by spirits, and more so the Avatar's life cycle was dominated by spirits, the closest thing we have is Kuruk. Because based on what we know from Kyoshi's story, bro spent most of his life struggling with spirits. So if you wanted to create a story that directly connects to Pavi, but in a different era, making this into a series rather than a book would make the most sense. They would be the most similar thematically and in terms of vibes. Now, obviously, Kuruk and Pavi, I assume, are going to be very, very different characters. But, I mean, I hope it's Kuruk. I really hope it's Kuruk. Because Kuruk, in my opinion, is one of the coolest characters that people don't really talk about and don't really think about, because he doesn't really show up a lot in the main series at all. Because, like, the whole thing where with Ko the Face Stealer and all that, that's like just a tiny taste of how much bro was struggling. I want to see his full story. Okay, let's read through this. Teens and adults to play 14-year-old Native North American. Baru is an earnest, impulsive, spacey teen with skate grunge rocker vibes. He's an underachieving apprentice spellsmith, an unlikely person to be tasked with saving the world, but that is his destiny. It's hard for him to pass upon a good time or a daredeviling stunt, but he'll drop everything to help a stranger in need. He's an optimist with a brightly burning spirits and a goofball who brings joy when he's not ushering in chaos. Baru is an intrepid risk-taker. If he gets an idea in his head, it's like an itch he must scratch, even if the chances for success are slim and chances for injury are high. Thinking things through is not his strong suit. He's all about good vibes and is highly allergic to bad vibes. Okay. He just like me, for real. When someone is making everyone have a bad time, most notably a bully or a peacock, Baru isn't afraid to dish up some comeuppance, or at least he'll attempt to. He'll pick a fight if he can't. He'll pick a fight he can't win. Now we're talking about Eren Yeager, as long as it's for the right reasons. He's charming and has an energy that just attracts most people. Now we're not talking about Eren Yeager. Sort of like a golden retriever. Definitely not Eren Yeager. He might ruin your rose bushes with a badly planned stunt, but you can't hate him for it because of his dopey smile. Series regular. Laid back vibe, authentic sounding teen, swings between being laid back, spacey, and hyperactive hyped. He's earnest, poetic with good vibes. Okay, and who's the other one? Male Meebs is usually the smartest person in the room, as well as the laziest. He has perfected the art of doing just enough to get by. He just like me, for real. He's a trainee in the retinue of a chancellor, an elite role for a young person. His parents hope one day Meebs will become the next chancellor and bring prestige to their influential family, but he isn't interested in any of that. He doesn't know what he wants out of life, but he knows he's bored with politics and the stuffy traditional environment in which he has been raised. Meebs is the polar opposite of his best friend Baru, but he is drawn to Baru for his free spirit and authenticity. We need the rules of 3. There's only 2 of them. There needs to be another one. Because this guy is the obvious like series lead. This is the smart one, and they need another one that is slightly chaotic and slightly goofy. It's the rule of threes. There needs to be another one. And even though he can't admit to it himself yet, maybe Meebs longs for his own free spirit too. Meebs is the de facto negotiator for the group, the Keystone Wizard's ambassador to the world. His high intelligence, sharp wits help Baru identify and correct the wrongs in the world they encounter. Note this role might sing later in the series, but he doesn't need to be skilled at it. Book smart, high social IQ, privileged, lazy, discerning taste, trust fund kid. I mean, this does low-key sound like, this does sound like Kuruk to me. I've got no idea who this could be, because we don't really know that much from Kuruk's lore to really say. The series only has a 22-minute pilot greenlit at the time. It's worth noting that we discovered a leaked slate. Yeah, this is what we talked about like a while ago. I don't know how much any of this is real. Anything that is coming out of Avatar Studios, I take with the biggest, that's a bit sus that you could ever do. The logo had an airbending tattoo, which we speculated could be related to a new Airbender Avatar TV series. Therefore, it's unknown whether that show was scrapped for a new show, or if these characters are from the Airbending series. However, we should expect that this series to be released between the second and third theatrical film in the confirmed trilogy. Well, there it is. I mean, if this is Kuruk, they need to do... Because, like, the one thing that I'm very, very afraid of with Seven Havens is that the lead is super young, and it's probably not going to be a super deep political thriller, right? Which, by default, kind of means that the target audience might not be the people who grew up with Aang and Korra, right? Because Aang was kind of aimed at younger audiences, Korra was kind of in between, and you would expect the third show to be aimed at, like, actual adults. Right? If you have a 9-year-old protagonist, very, very hard to do, unless there's a time skip a la Vinland Saga, which could, I guess, theoretically happen, but who knows. But if they did Pavi's story, which was, again, about spirits and stuff, and then they did a follow-up with Kuruk's story, which is with spirits, but infinitely darker and infinitely more messed up, I think that would be a pretty good compromise that kind of covers the new generation of viewers, as well as pretty much everyone who grew up with the series. Now, putting out Pavi's story, it wouldn't be the first thing because the movie's going to come first. But putting out Pavi's series as the first major series, again, for a franchise that hasn't really done a lot in the past 10 years, it is kind of risky, though. But I don't know. I don't know. Whatever the case, this is very exciting to hear about. This is very, very exciting to hear about, but obviously... Yeah, exactly. Like, this is from what I was told anyway. This is still very much rumor mill. Something is going on, but we don't know what it is. I low-key think they might be working on too many things. Because if they're doing all of this stuff at the same time, they're probably doing it for like the purpose of having all the lore in order, because they're already retconning stuff with the novels. If they start putting out new series that starts retconning even more of the lore, it's probably going to be a mess. So they want to make sure that everything actually fits together. But like developing this many things at a practically new studio, it must be having an effect on when they can actually put this stuff out, right? Because I don't think they're like Mappa or something, which you can just pump series out every year. But I mean, who knows? In terms of let me just open up Kuruk's page on the fandom. In terms of Kuruk lore, the most we have is just from the Kyoshi novels, pretty much, and I guess a little bit of in Yang Chen too. I guess more in Yang Chen actually, but. This is pretty much like the most important thing that I want to learn more about. I want to see the whole spirit stuff. Because spirits, I've yapped about this before, I'm not going to go on this tangent again, promise. But despite Korra being so heavy on spirits, the way spirits were explored in Korra, I feel like was infinitely less interesting, infinitely more shallow, and just like, it was bland compared to Aang's story. Korra had spirits everywhere, but the spirits were just like, we are scary because we have jagged teeth, right? I made the meme of we have cool spirits at home. You have like Wan Shi Tong and Ko the Face Stealer, or even Heibai. It's like the coolest things you've seen in your life. And then there was Korra spirits. I think if you do Korra spirits, he's going to show you the first image that I'm talking about. This thing right here. What the hell is this? The most boring thing I've seen in my life. We have a kite, a flying kite, and we have very spooky, jagged creatures. So, if we go back to, like, Father Glowworm, and the whole thing about absorbing their essence, and about Ko the Face Stealer and all this stuff, where we have, like, singular ancient beings that are they completely exist outside of what you can even comprehend, because they're like a 10,000-year-old spirit. There's like a primordial being. That's what I want with spirits in Avatar. How exactly this more interesting difference? Because Korra's spirits were just like, this is bad and you need to stop them. There was no underlying, because the thing that makes like cosmic horror scary is the fact that you can't fully comprehend it, and it exists outside of the bounds of what you understand. So the thing that made Ko scary is the fact that you just had to look at him with a straight face. Emotions killed you practically, right? It is a completely different like worldview understanding of how anything works. It's unsettling. Whereas with Korra's story, it was just, this thing is bad, it will attack you. You see how these things are slightly different? This thing is big scary. Big scary. You need spirits that like spark curiosity and imply something that is greater than just like, we gotta bend at them. One thing we haven't really seen a lot in Avatar, I guess the Fog of Lost Souls is one example, but we haven't really seen spirits in Avatar that mess with your brain. And that feels like a logical follow-up to all of this as well. There obviously are like things where after interacting with spirits, characters are messed up, but there isn't really a spirit that kind of directly like infiltrates your brain or something. They can absorb your essence and do bad things to you, but they can't really get in your brain. And also, by the way, if we do get Kuruk's story, they can expand a bit more on like the way this whole spirit stuff affects when they die. Because obviously, like, there's the whole thing with Kyoshi dies, because Kyoshi, by the time she dies, she's like 200 something, right? Because she did the super secret earthbending technique. 230, right? We have Kuruk, who died at like 33, and we have Aang, who also died relatively young. And a part of this is just like Kuruk was messed up by spirits. She did a super secret earthbending technique. But one of the things that exists in Avatar but isn't really touched upon that much is like the underlying fatalistic destiny and all that. It is briefly touched upon in the swamp, right? Because Aang functionally sees the future, right? So there's that. But I want to see if there is a thing where if you disrupt the cycle in some way, there are consequences for the future generations of avatars. Because that's been a soft theory that people have had for a long time, but we've never really explored whether any of it is real in any way. Because Kyoshi lived beyond her era. And there's the thing where each avatar is born into their era, right? They're born when they're needed. So if you completely mess up the cycle, things get interesting. Things get interesting. And I want to see if that has any basis as well. Aang was over 100 when he died. Okay, fine. Okay, fine. Is because he was in cryo. Cryo sleep doesn't count. Doesn't count. But I do find it interesting. I do find it very, very interesting. And if we dealt more into like the super esoteric spirit stuff, exploring that would be really, really cool. Basically, what I'm saying is... of all the elements Aang must master, you should just go to Koroto's Mystery Shack and watch this video from 7 months ago about the swamp. That's what I want. That's what I want more of. I want more weird, prophetic, fatalistic, underlying mysteries that cannot be explained in any reasonable way. That's what I live for. I hope this comes out. I mean, if they have a 22-minute pilot, I'm assuming they're doing test audiences, right? And if they're doing test audiences, they must be pretty certain of where it's going. Surely. Surely they're not making a 20-minute whole pilot thing as just like a funny exercise. But then again, I mean, who knows what's going on in Avatar Studios at this point? We talked about this last time, but like, even with the movie, I'm like, I'll believe it exists when I'm sitting in the cinema and watching it. Until then, I'm gonna treat it as a dream. They can give me posters, trailers, they can even give me like fragments of the movie. I still won't believe it exists until I'm in the cinema watching it. They've announced too much. They've announced too much and I don't trust any of it. That's the Avatar news though. Thank you for being the trusty reporter that we all need. We all deserve. Well, we don't deserve, but we do need. We desperately need. We do not deserve, but if there is one thing Avatar fans need, it's the scoops. It's the leaks and it's the scoops. I do wonder whether Avatar at this point is like is one of the IPs with the most leaked, most in progress things ever. It has to be up there. Not like most leaks, because like, I mean, that's probably going to be like something like Game of Thrones just because of how big it is. But in terms of like things that we know apparently, allegedly, supposedly should exist, Avatar's got to be up there. 3 movies, 2 shows, a AAA game all at the same time? Exactly. Exactly. And that seems ridiculous to me.